Kumar, 37 Squadron at the time of 71 war.
Okay, we didn't see the 37 because they were fighting the war in a different sector.
Yeah, we were in Hasibara.
I know. With Harish Masan.
That's right.
Yes.
And 14 Squadron, 65 war.
Okay. We were cadets in 65. We were ensuring blackouts in Delhi.
Okay. Beauty, just we all look very young.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Sir. Good morning, Mr. Rao.
Good morning, Rao, sir.
Now we can at least hear each other.
So nice to see you all with radiating faces, showing all the happiness in your faces.
May I please introduce myself?
Yes, please. Your name?
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Bridgemohan, sir.
I am ex-Wanderser Bridgemohan, Indian fitter. During the period of 71 war, I was in Aeropeak Flight number 5 Aeropeak Flight. And we fought during the period of 70 war inside the Pakistan, when we made our base of Aeropeak Flight in Pakistan territory from the border of Barmer sector. Munabao was the last railway station of our Indian side, and we crossed the Munabao, entered Khokra Park of Pakistan area.
Oh, that's super.
Yeah, I welcome our Air Commodore Bhargava sir, who is on the call, and Wing Commander PPS Kawatra sir, and Malhotra.
Hello, everybody.
Palinge, Wing Commander Kawatra sir. Then, yeah, sir. Good morning.
Very good morning. How are you, Mr. Rao?
I'm great, sir. I'm very happy to see you on the call.
I'm too happy. Very nice.
So kind of, sir, for all your support and cooperation guidance in this mission.
No, it's privilege because wonderful thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Sorry, I have not been able to join you in the past due to other commitments. Even now, I've just come back. I had gone somewhere quickly, just back home. And I said, I must speak to and at least listen to Gahlawat.
I think our Wing Commander...
hello, brother, sir. Lofty Karambhai here.
Oi, Karambhai, dear. How are you?
Fine, sir.
Good.
You look the same.
Oh, dear. I've just grown some hair. Nice, Karambhai, nice seeing you. My God, we have not met for years now. Really, fantastic. Very good. I'm grateful to
Wing Commander Hardik sir is also on the call, sir.
Hardik dear, really, wonderful job you're doing. Chalo, let's continue, please.
Now, so we will... yes.
Hi, Tweki.
Hi.
Nice seeing you after a long time. We talked on the phone, all right?
Yeah, good morning, Kawatra sir. Good morning. Welcome.
Lofty, I can't recognize. Brother Bhargav sir, I can recognize you very well. And
okay, naturally.
Not his woman.
He's always have
Not the woman.
So, welcome to Brigadier Apte sir onto the call, and so we are so fortunate to have all the luminaries on the call, and JW Patak is also on the call from Pune. So it is his dream that we are only fulfilling his dream. Welcome, sir, Patak sir.
Where is he?
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Patak.
Hello, Patak. Welcome.
So now...
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Argo, sir, I am very glad to see you. After a long time, sir.
Oh dear.
You honored my request and you made yourself available.
No,
I am
no,
thankful
no,
to you, sir.
it's pleasure. It's pleasure. Late.
So, good morning to all our air warriors and all the dignitaries on the call, including decorated officers or pilots. Now we are having another call remembering our war heroes of 1971. Now, having finished the call last webinar, like Air Marshal Masan sir, then Wing Commander Kathua sir, and now in the same batch, today we are having a call with our Wing Commander Jai Singh Gahalawat sir. So it's a great privilege. I feel rather blessed to get the opportunity of interacting with all the gallantry awardees. So I feel really blessed with this opportunity. And I welcome all our air warriors to this call to remember, to honor, to pay respects to our great heroes of the 71 wars during the year of 50 years of our Golden Jubilee celebrations of Vijay Diwas, started in December 16th, 1971, with a crushing defeat of Pakistan, liberating Afghanistan, and it is a historical victory for India. I think capturing more than 5,700 square miles of land, apart from 93,000 of PW. This is the significant war in which our air superiority was demonstrated without any doubt. So now, to make it all possible, we have a hero of the war, 1971, who was awarded with Gallantry Award of Vir Chakra for his bravery and highest performance of duty. So none other than Wing Commander Jai Singh Gahalawat sir. So he is so passionate about it. So I request all others to mute, sir. So now, no, he is the fighter pilot who had all the passion to go on for flying. Completed more than 12,000 flying hours while in service, and also outside the service. Also, he kept on flying almost 50 years of flying. I'm only part to be present 40 years of flying experience. Now we are going to share his experiences on this call. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Wing Commander Gahalawat, sir.
Thank you very much. And I'm already feeling nervous. There are so many.
You are a good speaker, sir. The other day I had a beautiful experience talking to you.
No, like you said, I missed my half a century by 2 years. Not
Yes,
because
sir,
I retired, my boss retired.
Yes. So yeah, sir, can you please walk us through your starting your early life? So how you got motivated into joining Indian Air Force before diving deep into the action part of it?
Okay, basically I studied the early first, second standard, maybe in the village. And thereafter was fortunate enough to get selected for the King George's School. You know, there are 5 schools which are run by the Defense Ministry, and they have an entrance exam. And 50% of the children of defense employees are allowed, and they take 50% of civilians to obviously boost the monetary requirements. So that, I feel, changed my life. Otherwise, I started from a small little village.
Yes, sir.
Like, most of us. But then once the school was we made good friends, and there was only one aim in the school: to clear the UPSC and join the NDA. that was the motivation for almost all students. Some of the civilians also, who were our friends, they also wanted to do it. And then, of course, the direct entry also started because the Air Force needed a lot of pilots during that time. So I was fortunate enough to be selected as an Army cadet for NDA and a direct entry for the Air Force simultaneously.
Okay.
So I got back to my seniors in NDA. I said, listen, should I come via the NDA route or take the direct route? So they said, you're a fool to look at the NDA because the front rolling and back rolling that we do here, we've already done in school. So you go get your commission in 9 months.
Yeah.
But our 9 months became 2 years and 9 months because of the 65 war. So we eventually, I joined in 65 March as a cadet, and we got our commission in December of 67.
Sir.
And like all, most of the fighter people, pilots, we all landed up in Pune to do our gunnery, because in Hakimpet, where we were doing our final training, there was no range, air-to-air range. So we were sent to Pune. 221 was my squadron. The other squadron was 220 for the other half of our coursemates who were from the fighters. There we did 6 months of our, basically the air work on the range. And then we got posted to various squadrons, and I happened to get posted to 27th Squadron, which was on Hunters at Halwara.
Okay, sir.
And like all youngsters, we also were sort of told to do all the other duties except flying, because there were so many of us in the squadron. So for the first almost a year of our posting, we went and we were sent on all the temporary duties and courses. I managed to do a navigation course, which the navigators do, because for a couple of years, I think we stopped taking navigators, and the navigation and signal school was closing down in Hakimpet. So we were picked up to go and forcefully do that course. And that was a 3-month course. And of course, we made the best of it, came back, and we started our operational training, which was quite slow actually, because like I said, there were too many of us. And sometime towards the end of 1970, our squadron was posted to Pathankot. So we moved to Pathankot. And our sister squadron was 20 Squadron, where I see my friend Bala Subramaniam, whom I almost shot down in the war. And he didn't know that I was about to shoot him, or probably he was aware, but his leader was saying, no, they are having fun. So don't worry, they weren't they didn't know that the whole thing was a little too close. I'll tell you about this story when we get there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, so we were based, both the squadrons were based in Pathankot. And 20th Squadron was asked to disperse their aircraft in Hindon because of the threat of war. So they had half the pilots here and half there, but all the aeroplanes were in Hindon. So on the third evening, we were struck by the Pakistanis. And we thought somebody from Adhampur was doing a mock attack, till the time we saw the mushroom of smoke going up. And I sort of remember telling my squash partner, because we were just out of the squash court, I said, listen, this is not a mock, attack. This is a real attack. So I remember running to the phone and calling the commanding officer, come on, let's go. He said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, the war is on. He said, no, we have to wait for orders from the air headquarters. And the orders came early morning. So I remember we all collecting around 4 o'clock in the mass briefing at Pathankot. The seniority levels were such that there were 2 of us who were the junior most fully operational pilots. And we were standby to every formation in case somebody doesn't come back. Only then were we supposed to get a chance to fly. Because the others who were senior obviously were in the main missions, and they had attended a lot of briefings and, mock attacks and all that. And we were told to sit outside the briefing room to make sure nobody else comes and hears what's being talked. So we both used to keep sitting there and wondering whether we'll ever get a chance to take part in the war. But the moment the briefing finished at the base ops and we reached our squadron, the commanding officer, who was supposed to be having another number 2 as the designated number 2, he asked me, he said, "Would you like to come with me as my number 2?" So I was obviously thrilled out of my boots. I said, "Of course, we are waiting for a chance." So he said, "Okay, come, we'll fly." And the briefing took place on the way in his car, actually, while going from the squadron to the dispersed area where we had our aeroplanes in the blast pens. And because I had marked a lot of maps for the others, duplicated a lot of maps, I was quite familiar with most of the targets that we were supposed to attack. And when I asked him, "Where are we going?" he said, "We are going to Sakesa SU as the target." It was Sakesa. The other day when I was talking to you, I mentioned it's Kohat. So I said, "Yeah, I've duplicated a lot of maps for Sakesa and I will be able to sort of figure out." He said, "Have you done your 2 aircraft lead check?" I said, "No." He said, "I will do your lead check for 2 aircraft. You are the leader. Now you brief me." That was another pleasant surprise. So I told him, I said, "Stick, search and report. That's what the number 2 is supposed to do."
Okay.
Anyway, we were given a takeoff time and we were told that there will be no RT. You line up at the appropriate time, the lights will be switched on and you take off. So we quickly got into our aeroplane, started up, and like we were always over enthusiastic, taxied out. Maybe I must have taxied out a little bit early, but I went and waited on the runway. The lights were on before I got into the runway. So I was wondering, I said, "What the hell, am I late?" And suddenly I see somebody going over me and landing in front of me on the same runway. I said, "Hey, who's that?" He said, "Sorry, girls, I didn't see you. You don't have your nav lights on." I said, "The war is on. What nav lights?" But he was Murli, who was landing from Hendon, 20 Squadron aircraft early morning. And then I sort of asked my CEO, "Where are you?" Because I couldn't see him anywhere on the runway. He said, "Come on, we're getting late." I said, "I've already almost killed myself here. I'm waiting on the takeoff point." I immediately vacated the runway and waited for him on the ORP, and he joined me soon after that. And we took off. Now, the people who have flown Hunters would agree with me when I say that most of the watches in the Hunter were unserviceable. So we were relying on our wrist watches for most of the flights. And I had kept my wristwatch under my thigh perspex, where we normally used to keep maps on the thigh, under the perspex. I'd kept my wristwatch there so that it was visible a little easily. Instead of under the hand, there you have to take out your left hand from the throttle, or the right hand, you have to look at this thing. So now we had done night flying, but we did it after sunset, but never early morning. And this was an early morning takeoff. We took off, and as soon as the pressurization was switched on, the pankha louvers which supply the air into the cockpit, they were throwing out condensed air, and the whole cockpit was full of this fog. Along with that, even my watch got fogged up and I couldn't see the time. So I quickly gave a call to my number 2, who was my CEO. I said, time check.
Yeah, one second. A small break. We'll mute others. A small break.
Okay.
Sir, now you can unmute and speak, sir. Gahlawat, sir.
Okay. So I asked him, I said, time check. So he told me RT silence, so I was now scared that he's going to fail me as a leader because I'm talking on the radio and it's supposed to be an RT silence. Anyway, I again pressed on and asked him, I said, time check. I didn't want to tell him that my watch is not visible to me. So he gave me a time check. I quickly calculated the turning point on time because that is the only way that we were navigating those days. You steer your course and on the appointed time you turn, because on the ground, nobody was even striking a matchstick. There was nothing visible. So I remember we went on that heading and he gave me a call at the time that I had asked him to give me a call because that was the turning point. So I turned because from there we were turning west to go into Pakistan. All along this time we were on the foothills somewhere near Rajouri, VrC, that area. So, but before, as soon as I crossed the border, we were supposed to do our guns check. Now, I forgot to tell you that the previous night, all the aeroplanes were loaded with full fuel and rockets.
Okay.
But in the morning, they realized the targets that we were going to were not possible to be hit with rockets. So they pulled off the rockets and left only the guns. We were with 4 guns. But the rails, the rocket rails, they're tedious to put on and put back. So they still remain there. So with we have to do a guns check to sort of find out whether the guns are working as soon as you cross the border or at the border. So
Hey, how do you check the gun, sir?
By pressing a small burst on the this thing trigger. So now before doing that, I looked around to see if my number 2 is anywhere in sight, and I couldn't see any shadows or anything else. So I asked him, I said, sir, are you with me? Now again, I was scared because it is again breach of RT silence.
Okay.
But I gave him another call.
Okay.
I said, are you with me? And like I said, he used to call everybody a guru. His starting was is a guru. So suddenly the call came, guru, no contact. I said, what course are you steering? He was steering the previous course, and I had already turned for those last 3-4 minutes onto this track of towards the west, maybe some heading on the west. So I told him, I said, I'm already on this. You try and sort of, catch up with me. He said, no, you come back to the turning point. And I hadn't seen the turning point because, like I said, on the ground, nobody was even lighting a matchstick. So I said, all right, let's go back because the commanding officer otherwise will get very angry. So I turned around and started heading back. And while heading back, I realized, I said, listen, we don't have navigation lights on. We're going to kill each other by going into each other. So I switched on my nav lights. And the moment I started sort of, going, and we were obviously quite low because to prevent the radar from picking us up. And the army thought we were Pakistanis because now I was heading from the west, and so they started firing at us, our own people. So when I saw those flashes and all that, so I switched off my nav lights and pulled up a little bit. And I told him, I said, sir, these people are firing at us. Can you switch on your nav lights? That way, at least I'll be trying to. And I finally found him. So got him into position, and then we started again, got into that broad formation. And when you're two of us, you are in a broad formation so that each one can keep the other one's tail clear. We crossed the border. And then I asked him, I said, now, I didn't know how much of fuel we wasted in this, going around looking for each other. So I asked him, I said, should we carry on to the primary target or take on the secondary target? Because each one of us given 2 targets. Primary, if you can't make it due to any...
So what was your primary target, sir, at that point?
Sakesar SU, the signal unit at Sakesar.
Okay.
So he gave me a call, you're the leader, you decide. Now I said, he's now, looking for my judgment on this. I said, we are going to suck at the primary target, but on the way back, we are coming straight. We're not coming via anything because I feel, in my view, we'll run short of fuel. I had no clue about how much was the fuel and how much we were supposed to be having for combat and how much reserve, because that briefing had already taken place so many times with the other pilots.
Okay.
I had just a map, and now my CEO checking me out as now 2 aircraft leader. Anyway, now when we set course, after getting each other in sight, I didn't know exactly where we were on the ground, because we could have set course to the north or the south of the original track. But fortunately for me, there was a railway line which was supposed to be running to the initial point. And accidentally or otherwise, I found it. And I got glued onto it. And I said, I'm not going to leave this railway line till the time we reach the initial point from where we pull up and start the attack. And then I get a call. Guys, we have crossed the target. I said, negative, sir, because I'm looking on this railway line like a hawk. But when his second call came after some time, that I'm telling you, we have crossed the target, I almost turned back. Because I said, this guy has got so many hours of experience. I must have had about, I don't know, around less than 100 hours on the Hunter.
Probably you are the youngest pilot in your unit.
I was one of the junior most person, like I said, kicked out of turn.
That.
So anyway, we just I held myself. I said, no, I'm still on that railway line, and that point has to come in this one. When the third call of his came, I'm telling you, we have crossed the target. Now I said, my God, I have to now. If I don't reach back, I'm dead anyway. Otherwise, he'll fail me if I reach back. But just then I found the IP in front of me. And I told him, I said, so the IP is in contact and I'm going in from this direction for the attack. And we had briefed for only one attack because the fuel was sufficient only for one.
Okay.
This feature is right on top of a mountain, the highest mountain in that area. And all along, maybe 10, 15 miles away from this, it's all plain ground. And we were hugging the ground as low as possible. So the first attack, the moment I said I'll come in line with this feature, I'll open the fire. But because we had such a lot of speed, that burst of fire was not more than a couple of seconds, and that feature went under us. And having come this far, I thought, I'm not turning around to just go back home like this. I'll do one more. So in any case, I have to turn around to go back home. So I turned around and I positioned myself in a dive from the other end, from west to east. And I let go onto the domes. And I was so carried away that I almost went into the dome, because the the runaway direction also was, like I said, quite low. And this is on top of a mountain, these two domes. And we sort of thereafter, it was all power and we were running back home. And then I realized I must check how is my number 2. So I gave him a call again. I said, sir, are you with me? There was no sort of reply from him. And I said again, he's going to say, RT silence in the enemy territory or talking on the radio. But I gave him another call. So this time he said, no contact, Guru. So I said, now the sun was about to start rising and the sky was already turning that, reddish, and we were heading east. So I said, I'll go up a little bit above the horizon and you can sort of, look at me and catch up. He said, negative, stay as low as you can. We'll meet across the border.
Okay.
So I listened to the CEO and carried on. Now, this course, which we had drawn from Sakesar, was an approximate course. It was not marked on the map.
Okay.
To Pathankot.
Okay.
There was no fuel for via and all that. And I was quite sure that we are going to be in trouble for fuel. It was just a hunch. Like I said, I had no clue how much was the reserve and how much was sort of, Anyway, as we came closer on that track, I said, I'll ask for a homing when we are in contact with Pathankot. And he will give us the direction to reach home.
Yes, sir.
And as we were sort of, coming closer to the eastern side, because Pathankot is just, I think, hop step away from the border. The straight line was going through all their area.
How far is Pathankot from the border, sir? The distance?
15, 20 nautical miles. I'm not very sure, but not more than that because even their artillery was sort of firing at us and shooting, coming just outside our fencing.
Yeah, how far was your primary target, sir, from Pathankot to your primary target?
I don't recall the exact thing, but it was the furthest we could have gone in the Hunter.
Right. Okay.
So as we came closer to start talking, I heard the 20 Squadron CEO, Wing Commander Parker. He was telling him, requesting him for homing because he says, I'm low on fuel and I'm going to be pulling up to eject. So request homing. The controller said, we have just been bombed. The homer is out of action. I'm sorry, I won't be able to give you a homing. Now I said, why should I talk? There is no homer. so why jam the radio?
Okay.
And his number 2 was one flight Lieutenant Dillon,
Okay.
who kept quiet all along. And Parker kept saying, my fuel is now so much, now so much, now so much. The last I heard was 200 pounds aside or something. And then I he said, I'm pulling up to eject. So the controller told him, best of luck, sir. And just then I hear the number 2. My engine is flamed out and I'm pulling up to eject. The number 2 of Parker. Obviously, the number 2 ran out of fuel before Parker did. Because he was the leader. His throttles are almost constant. Number 2 is all the time pushing them up and down to keep in formation. So when he said pulling up to eject, I remember giving him a call. I said, all the best, Johnny. He was a good friend of ours. And just then was my turn to come because these people had taken off around the same time as us in the morning, early morning. I crossed a runway, which was almost north-south. And I said, the fuel gauge is almost very close to 0.